Okay.
It's connecting. Hold on. Okay, we are good.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is Councilor Bill Solms. I'm calling this regular meeting of the Ledyard Town Council Finance meeting to order. Present are Councilors Malone and Ingalls, as well as Administrative Assistant Roxanne Marr, Finance Director Marsha Hancock, and 3 firefighters, all volunteer, I think, and as well as one of them being the Director of Emergency Services or Administrative, Administrative Emergency Services. So that would be Jeff Earhart and Jeff Smith and Steve Holyfield. Welcome, everybody. Are there any public comments anyone would like to make before we start? Hearing none, I have no informational items other than what's on the agenda, and would accept the motion to review and approve the final, or the last Finance Committee meeting minutes.
I move to approve the regular meeting minutes of February 3rd, 2021.
Second.
Perfect. Thank you. Comments, corrections?
I saw none.
I did not either. Good minutes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Counselor
Aye.
Ingalls votes aye.
And Councilor Solms says aye. Minutes are approved. And I will turn it over to the Finance Director for her report. I see that we have a revenue and expense summary.
Yes,
So
you do.
Steve joined us.
What was that, Rox?
Steve Maslin just joined the meeting.
Hi, Steve.
Hello.
The only thing I have to report is that financially things are going quite well, except for Steve. He's got some stuff.
Ooh.
But as far as the budget preparation goes, we are looking good. We haven't finalized the mayor's budget yet, but I don't think you're going to have to do much cutting. And if you have any questions about the revenue and expenditure reports, please give me a buzz. That's all I have.
Okay. So we look like I know we have a lot of things encumbered, but even a lot of big payments get made at the end of the year, but we're running pretty far under expenses being halfway through
Yeah.
or more.
Marsha, I have a couple of questions, but would you prefer I give you a call? I need to explain a
Totally
couple-
up to you guys. I mean, now is fine for me.
I'd kind of like to ask them now because I always suspect if I have a question, someone else probably has the same question. Can you explain on the revenue sheet, can you explain the arrears line? I think that might be one that shows a negative percent used. And I was just trying to get my head around the money in, money out encumbrances on the arrears line. So where is it?
Okay, I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah, it's actually on page 7. Oh, it's not the one that's negative. Maybe that's my next question. Second item up from the bottom on page 7.
Revenues, okay. Seventh item up from the bottom,
Sorry, second item up.
second.
Right.
Transfers in,
Well, what are we covering with this?
we are talking about that line, transfers in. Is that,
Transfers in.
what's the
um,
amount?
It's item number 41001 arrears. Transfers in, wait, where are you looking? Maybe I should just call you. I don't want to frustrate everybody.
What's the amount of, maybe we can do it by the amount. Is it one?
The amount is, it's, the original appropriation is 360,000. Year-to-date expended 426,000. So it's an overextended line.
Let me back up a minute. Is it the expenditure report or the revenue report?
Revenue.
And page 7, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, arrears. Okay, that just means, and I'm sorry, I didn't change the headings for the revenues like I usually do. So year-to-date expended should be year-to-date collected or amount we have received. So that means that we have received 66,700 more than we budgeted.
Oh, so, okay. So that's more came in that was in arrears.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Next question.
We like when that happens.
On the expense sheet, and I need to pull it up. Oh, see, this is 43 pages. It's the risk management line, and I didn't note the page number. So
That's all right, I know right where it is. It should be on page 6. And you're going to ask about the negative expenditure?
yes.
Okay, that happens, so we budget 10,000 for that line, and it's mostly for paying for insurance claims, because we usually pay the claim and then we get reimbursed by PERMA later.
Okay.
And so we also pay other, the reason we budget 10,000 is because there are things we pay for that we don't get reimbursed for. Think like outside of insurance. Like if we had if we needed to pay for something that wasn't covered by insurance, we would take it out of that line. If we need to pay the deductible, we take it out of the line above it. So if we don't have anything that we have to pay for that insurance doesn't cover, we can show a negative expenditure when we get those payments,
Got it.
reimbursements in from insurance.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you both. We have no old business. Is there a need to amend the agenda for new business?
No.
Hearing none, I would accept a motion for the first item.
I make a motion to authorize the over expenditure of Public Works budget winter operations accounts due to expected higher than budget demands.
Counselor
Is there a
Ingalls
second?
seconds.
Thank you. Discussion. No surprise to anyone, I think, and I noted in the notes that these numbers and the attached charts that Steve also so carefully puts together every year don't reflect tomorrow's storm. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Steve.
Well, yeah, like you said, hopefully it's straightforward enough. Obviously, if we were to stay on the trajectory as of today, we would eke it out, but the trend has not been good. And tomorrow through Friday, maybe into Saturday, depending on how long it drags out, will not help. It would put us in a situation where winter would have to essentially shut off soon in order for us to make it after the next storm. So this is preemptive. Of course, I only spend money that's directly associated with those accounts from those accounts. So if things did magically shut off after the next storm, we would not go over, and I would not spend over. I wouldn't exercise the authority maybe given tonight or next week to do so just because I have it. This is only anticipating that we will not make it.
And we have a record of doing this in the past. Steve looks ahead. He comes to us with a request for over expenditure in advance of rather than after the fact, which is good management. And it's worked well. So thank you for that. Councilors, questions?
I have no
Thank you,
questions.
Steve.
You're welcome.
Okay.
On behalf of
Hey,
Mother
hey.
Nature, I'm sorry.
Is that,
We were due. We were due.
That's
Yeah.
true.
we did take a risk last year. We said, let's go for another year of little to no snow, and sooner or later it catches up. So here we are. So
Could
we
be
tried.
worse. We could be in Texas.
True. But they don't have any salt anyway.
No,
Are you having any trouble getting salt, Steve?
we're staying ahead of it. And because we have a longstanding relationship with Gateway down in New Haven and have a contract that we've established year after year, and we've kept in touch with them, pressing them on that question, I think we are okay. And we've been assured that we're okay, even though they haven't quite caught up with our orders yet. I don't know. I'll tell you, I'll know more by Friday.
Yeah. I think it was Saturday. There was a news item on TV about commercial operators standing in line because the state and municipalities have their orders locked in. So they seem to
Right.
be okay, but the commercial operators are all spending a lot of time waiting for salt. So,
Well, we have seen a more of a trickle in deliveries toward our orders right now. So I think that they are not staying totally on top of at least municipalities. I'm sure the state's getting first priority. So maybe they are trying to squeeze some out to the contractors
that's what it
somehow
looked like.
too.
Yeah. Well, we know where there's some extra salt that somebody needs to move, so it doesn't want to have.
I don't know where it's
anymore,
at
so.
now.
I don't
No.
either. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? All in favor, ready to vote, please say aye.
Counselor Ingalls votes aye.
Councilor Malone votes aye.
It does sound, Counselor Solms, and the motion passes. Thank you very much, Mr. Maslin.
All right, good night.
Next item, please.
Oh, sorry. I lost my page. Okay. I make a motion to recommend the town council authorize the Gales Ferry Fire Company to overexpend account 101-20551-56700 vehicle equipment and repairs by $13,000 and to transfer funds at year end to make the account whole.
Councilor Malone seconds.
Thank you, Tom. So our ladder truck had to have the radiator, I think it was pulled and repaired or replaced. I don't recall which. Chief Saccone called me earlier in the week. He's unable to be here, but we also have both Jeff, as well as Mr. Holyfield joining us to answer questions. But basically, we had a significant expense on the ladder truck, and there are some other equipment pieces that are going to need repairs. So that's the request. So I'll turn it over to whomever wishes to speak.
I'll speak on behalf. So the ladder truck, we had to have the radiator removed, repaired. The manufacturer didn't have any in stock. It was actually cheaper to repair the one that we had. And then we had a coolant leak on the engine, which ended up being the EGR cooler, which is part of the new emissions stuff that came out in 2009. So that ate up a lot of our budget, and we have some more repairs that we need to get done for the rest of the year, and the money's not there, unfortunately.
And that's a Cummins engine,
Yep. Yes, we have all
right?
Cummins.
So that's what we're replacing in R13. That engine is had the same problem, but it's being replaced with a Cummins, which is good.
Yeah.
The chief didn't seem to think there were any future problems like the ones we had with Ledyard's trucks.
No, two totally different animals. The engine's a 2009, so we're at
Oh, yeah,
We got a few years on her, so.
yeah. Jeff, do you know if it was pinhole leaks like corrosion or cracks?
There was actually three spots where it corroded.
Okay.
And that was where it was mounted, the way it was mounted in the truck from the factory. Like Tony stated, that was a demo, so it was driving around for a couple of years before we purchased that truck. So, we got the truck with, I believe it was like 23,000 miles on it already. So, it could have been bouncing around. We obviously, try our hardest to take the best care of it and wash and rinse all the salt and stuff off it. So just over time, the corrosion got to it. When the repair shop did, pull it to have it repaired and then reinstalled it, they put down some rubber membrane in that area. So hopefully vibration and stuff, it won't happen again.
Good move. Tom, Andrea, questions?
No, none from me.
Yeah, Bill, so Chief Saccone called me and talked to me about this in detail. And, he regrets not being able to make it to the meeting tonight, but he did explain it in detail, and I am in full support of making that repair.
Great. We did get a good deal on this truck, and this is a small expense compared to the savings. As I recall, was it $250,000, Jeff?
We saved probably $300,000 on buying that truck.
Yeah. So this ain't bad.
No.
Okay. You guys ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Counselor Ingalls votes aye.
Councilman Malone votes aye.
And Councilor Sons votes aye, and the motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Next
Have a great
item,
night.
All right.
night.
Thanks for coming. We always appreciate when you do.
Yep.
Okay. Next item.
I make a motion to recommend the town council reallocate $2,100,000 of the Gallup Hill School and Ledyard Middle School construction project authorization of January 2015 to pay project debt, with said funding to come from the following original allocations: demolition of Ledyard Center School in the amount of $1,350,000, Gallup Hill School construction budget surplus in the amount of $337,500, and Ledyard Middle School construction budget surplus in the amount of $412,500.
Is there a
Counselor
second?
Ingalls seconds.
Thank you. So the project came in under budget. We do have some items that are going to cost us that I think the town has decided not to try and do battle with the builder. It's unfortunate. It's at least good that we have some surplus, and it's better to start paying down debt and reduce interest rather than battle this out forever. So those are just my personal opinions. Marcia, do you have anything that you want to add to this?
Yeah, I would just add that the original allocation of, I think it's 280,000 for debt, when we were doing the original numbers, was based on a project of 2 years and then close out the project. That obviously has not happened. It was clear pretty much from the beginning that that was not going to happen. We've gone 4 years beyond the original 2. So we have thus far spent, and I project for the next year, we're hoping to do the final bonding in 2022. And we will have spent $2.5 million on interest, issuance costs, And yeah, just those two. So that's why we're asking for the allocation to be rejiggered so that we cover that.
So was that 2.5 million in extra interest costs because of the extension of the project?
Yeah, it's over and above
Wow.
the 280,000 original.
Wow.
Wait. Say that again. We're dealing
have
with a
spent-
$2.5 million interest payment?
No, not just interest payments. It's issuance costs for the short-term notes and the bonding. So every year when we go out to bond, we spend $85,000 to issue those bonds. If we don't issue bonds and we issue only short-term notes, that's a lower amount. That's usually around 30,000. So we have those issuance costs, and then we have pretty hefty interest payments. Because when we borrow, $17 million and carry that for a year, that's a lot of interest.
Mhm.
So a good part of that, the majority of the 2.5 million is interest, but there's also issuance costs in there as well.
Okay, so I want to make sure I understand this. We are taking the surplus from Gallup Hill project, the surplus from the middle school project, and the money that we essentially didn't spend to demolish the Ledyard Center School. And we are using that to pay down some of the existing project debt,
It will be for all of the project debt,
all of it. Okay.
except, once we bond, that goes into the general fund and we pay it out of the debt service.
What else do we have left to bond on this?
We are waiting for the state. The state is holding back 11% of the reimbursement that they still owe the town. So we're essentially carrying $12 million in what we anticipate getting from the state, because they will not release that money until we've had an audit done.
Ay.
An audit of the work or an audit of the project costs?
An audit of the project costs.
Okay.
And so they audit in order to determine the ineligible expenses. So this May, we're going to do another bond sale of about 4.5 million, so that we're at least getting that much off of the short-term interest costs table. And but we cannot bond the state portion until we know what we're getting back from the state, because let's say we were to bond the whole 12 million and then the state gives us 11 million, we've over bonded by 11 million and we will be in trouble.
So if I were to say this another way, it sounds to me, correct me if I'm wrong, you can come in under budget on a project, but if you have delays in finishing the project, that can cost you more than you saved. And that's what happened.
Right.
And the delays were due to problems with the quality of the work, things like the floor and Ledyard Middle School, paint, HVAC, things like that are what dragged the project out. Am I correct?
Yes, and also because the project dragged out, we don't have any guarantee or trust in the state getting the audit done quickly.
Yep.
So we could face some delays once the project completion paperwork has been submitted to the state as well.
And I think I recall reading that some time, not too long ago, I don't know if it was the building committee or the board of ed, I think it was probably the building committee, decided to throw in the towel on going after the builder on some of these ongoing problems because of this, because it's costing us so much to carry the project. Is that a true statement?
I heard that as well. I didn't hear it directly. I can tell you
Yeah.
that Steve Juskowitz is going to be coming to the town council in March. I believe
Okay.
it's the second meeting to give you all an update on the projects.
Okay.
Currently, it looks like they are projecting about a $1.8 million surplus on just the construction part of the project. So those numbers that are in the motion coming out of surplus are from those are the actual, those are the projected surpluses, and then we would be lowering those by the amount that we transfer over to cover debt.
Okay, so say that another way, there's still some more surplus money that we've not tapped to cover these costs of
That's
interest.
Yep.
Okay, good, good.
So
Wow.
Marcia, assuming that once the project is complete and the audit is complete, is there any reason, any other reason the state would not then release the 11% they're holding back?
I don't know how quickly they turn those funds around after the audit is complete. What we're concerned about are two things: how long it's going to take them to do the audit, even though the state, as part of the budget resolution one year, said that they would do it within 6 months of the end of a project. That doesn't seem to be happening with any of these projects across the state. They just get to them when they get to them. And I don't understand why they're allowed to do that, but they are. And the 11% can be reduced by the amount of the ineligible costs. So that's why they hold that much back.
Okay.
It used to be 5%. That same year that they put in the 6-month audit requirement, they also raised the 5% holdback to 11. And you can see now how that's affecting how much we have to carry in debt.
Yeah.
Yikes. Okay.
All right, ready to vote?
No, Bill. I gotta say something here. I know I said something at the town council meeting previous to this. I just don't think, when I say we, I mean the town, the PMBC, whoever the clerk of the war, we did not manage these projects properly, financially or physically, because we have leaky roofs, we have floors and footings that are not satisfactory, doors that don't fit. And I know John had said at his briefing when I questioned him about it that, well, it's not worth it to go, after them financially. But I just want it to be known that, we have a saying in government, government doesn't go for lowest price, they go for best value, which really means they go for lowest price. So, best value sometimes is really not the best value. And I think we're succumbing to that at this point here at the end of these projects. And I would think if we had spent the extra few $100,000 or $1 million or whatever the price is to get it right, we'd be facing a lot less rework and, somewhat less obvious, underspending. But this is just, and I used to be on PMBC, and so I can speak for this from the police building stuff. We have to change our attitude going forward about best value and what best value is. And that's all I'm going to say.
Could I just respond to that?
Sure.
Having been involved in the bid process, the very extensive bid process when this was going through its multiple phases of bidding, first of all, choosing ONG, and then choosing the contractors. I know that the PMBC went through extensive work to not just go with the lowest bidder. They we created the bidding documents to specifically get rid of that idea. We wanted to make sure that there was that these entities were chosen based on their experience and history. You know, to a certain extent, we couldn't just choose whoever looked like the best if their amount was way higher than anybody else. But we didn't, and the town we've been changing our bidding documents for several years now so that we're not just taking the lowest bidder. And as long as you put that into your bidding documents, you can do that. So we've had a lot of legal advice on this, and Bill can attest to a certain lawsuit that happened. After that, we really tightened up our bidding documents. So I think that this is kind of universal. I hate to say it, it shouldn't be, but when you think about how hard it is to get a house built and the delays and the nonsense that goes on with that sometimes, and then you multiply that a gazillion times by how much you have to oversee in a school project, it's a big responsibility, and unfortunately, a lot of times these things have been happening that shouldn't be happening.
I have a slightly different view, and I plan to ask Mr. Juskowitz about this. We were warned by a former member of the building committee that we should not have accepted ONG's offer to provide clerk of the works services. We should have had an independent clerk of the works. We chose not to do that, the feeling on the PMBC, and I am going to ask Mr. Juskowitz, so I shouldn't try to restate what he said, but basically he felt that we did the right thing at the time. I do want to ask him if he still feels that way.
Bill, what would an independent contractor or clerk of the works look like?
So it would be a project manager who doesn't work for the contractor. And that's a common practice, Tom. I'm sure you know this better than I do, that if you have an independent project manager, they call it clerk of the works. I prefer the term project manager.
Right, or we call them, quality assurance.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, the PMBC does that too. That was our hope, that the PMBC could serve that role. But still, having an independent professional who does this for a living, who does not work for the contractor, is, in my experience, a good idea.
I thought that's
Just
what
to keep
ONG
everybody on.
was, but are they contractors?
Well, they're the general contractor, but a clerk of the works, and again, Steve can explain this better to us than I can, but an independent clerk of the works or project manager doesn't work for the contract, they work for us. And they're the people going around making sure that things get done right, just like our building inspector and zoning and everybody else. But they're into the finite details of the project, and they're looking at what's being done as it's being done, as opposed to doing a punch list at the end of a task completion, say, was this done right? Often, you find things like the floor, the roof leaks. Well, the floor gets wet, the floor buckles, and you get into this tangled up argument about it'll lay out, it'll flatten out, it'll dry, do this, do that. And the clerk of the works maybe could have handled that differently. So I'll ask that question when we get to the Mr. Juskowicz's presentation. But that's my question as to what happened here. So, we ready to vote now?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Counselor Ingalls votes aye.
Counselor Malone votes aye.
Counselor Solomon votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. The last item is just a discussion piece. I asked that Roxanne put this on because I periodically have had questions in the past about our VOAG funding. And I want to make sure, I believe everything is in order, but I just want to make sure that we talk about what needed to be done, what has been done, and have, you know, the 3 points on here. Are we spending the VOAG money correctly? Is the grant fund being handled correctly? And part of that was our conversation from the last meeting about putting some of these things on the CNR. Have we handled the Board of Ed year-end surplus correctly? And what changes can we make to the capital non-recurring plan in the SIP? So that we can, because this is part of a long-term interest of mine at least, and I think the Finance Committee historically is to plan as much as we can using our capital plan, know what we need to do with money when we have it well in advance of having money, and also set aside money that we need for projects that we know are coming. A good example of that is the high school track. We knew for years, we maybe didn't fund it, but we knew for years that we would have to do something with the high school track. So my question to Marcia is, have we met all our commitments according to state requirements for ASTE as well as Board of Ed surplus?
We will have met our obligations to ASTE in April when we get the rest of the money, and we turn that over to their VOAG line in their capital budget.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure that I understand yet after 12 years how that works. I know that they give us the state gives us an amount that we budget for revenue, and then anything over, if we receive anything over that amount, it supposedly has to go to infrastructure and repairs and things like that. So yes, we have been doing that every year, and I don't think there has been any challenge to that from the Board of Ed. So I think we're good there.
Okay. So the reason that's important is we have to be able to account for the fact that VOAG grant funding was spent on VOAG things. We can't take excess VOAG money and go buy physics books.
Right.
We have to spend it on either VOAG expense or VOAG capital. And then Board of Ed year-end surplus, their surplus has to go into the CNR, and I think that's is it by ordinance, Marcia?
Resolution.
Resolution.
Standing resolution from the 90s, Rox, I think it is. So it hasn't been changed.
What's that?
The Board of Ed surplus is in a resolution from the late 90s?
Yes. Yeah, it's 1989, I think.
Oh, late 80s.
Okay.
So I will say that the year that they got, the year that the track and field was funded, I did not do a surplus transfer to their capital because we would have had basically zero fund balance left because we took so much out for the track and field.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not, they thought they should have gotten, and that year their surplus was about $1 million. So they thought that they should have gotten their surplus transferred, which I thought they did because it was part of the track and field.
So this is where I get really confused between the general fund and all the other funds. So if we spent their surplus on the track and field, I think you're saying they got their surplus spent on capital, right?
Right.
So we just didn't do the auditing that would have showed that it went into their capital and then came back out from the track?
Well, the track is in their capital. The track, so they have about 6 lines, I think it is, in their capital, in their CNR. One of them is track and field, and then there's their regular reserve account. They have VIII, they have a couple of others, asbestos. So when the town meeting approved the track and field, we moved, I think, 1.9 million from our fund balance, general fund balance, to their CNR track and field account line. So yes, in my mind, they got their surplus plus 900,000.
Okay.
And then the rest, the total that was appropriated for that project was 2.5 million. The remainder came from the mill rate stabilization fund.
Yep. Okay. So assuming nothing like that in the coming year, their surplus, assuming there is one, will go into their CNR, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's all I had. Tom, Andra, questions?
It will be a great day when I understand all of that. That shifting of funds.
Yeah, that was a shell game.
It is a shell game, and you can understand why they get frustrated. You can understand the frustration on the council's end. You can understand why people are scratching their heads. I mean, I guess you could argue at the end of the day, it's all coming out of the same big, gigantic pot, but
it is, but that's how you deplete your rainy day fund too.
Right.
So that's why I keep asking. I want to understand, because I want to know how we can, we set a policy of increasing our rainy day fund, and we ended up not doing that. So okay.
Yeah.
We'll keep asking. Thank you, Marcia.
All righty. Yeah.
All right. I have nothing else. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second, Andra's coughing. I got it. We are adjourned at 5:43 p.m.
Put your mask on, Andra.
Good night.
Good night, all.
Thank you all. Good night.